everybody, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it is time for Triple Play. And I am here with Misty.
Hello.
And with Natalie.
Hi.
And we are going to tackle the Ohio Star this week. So we're super excited about it because this is a really old traditional block, and it's one of those where if you just tweak it a little, you get whole new ideas, and so it's really fun to look at.
Yep.
So I'm going to start, and this is my quilt back here, and my Ohio Star is pretty standard with just a little cornerstone out here that makes a secondary block of a little churn dash out here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So just by adding that little block in the corner, we've changed up the Ohio Star a little bit. So to make my quilt, what you're going to need is 2 packages of 5-inch squares, and I have used Silverstone by Wishwell for Robert Kaufman, and then you're going to need some background squares, and I used these 5-inch squares, but if you use yardage, you're going to need 1 1/4 yards of yardage, and that yardage will also include all this sashing that's on this quilt. You're going to need, your border is 3/4 of a yard and it's 5-inch strips. Now you'll notice on this quilt, I only made 9 blocks. That's because I got so excited about what happened in the corners that I actually made 2 more little projects that I'll show you like right at the very end. So backing is 3 1/4 yards, and we've just used this beautiful gold with the gold metallic. You know, honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to love this fabric, but once I got it into the quilt, it's just beautiful. The print on here is called Just Roses, and our quilting print is called Just Roses, and it's just that all over pretty print. And the only other thing that I used is the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer, and it's this little ruler right here, and I use this for squaring up my blocks. So let me show you how to do this. Now to make this type of block right here, let's go right here, where we have color in the center and white on the outside, there's a trick for that. And here's the trick. So that what you want to do is you want to go through your pack and you want to pick a square for your middle. And you want to pick a square for your hourglass blocks. And you want to pick a square for the middle color. And you want those to all be a different, different hues so they stand out. And then you need 1 charm pack that you're going to put in your corners. And I've already cut my charm pack right in half, my 5-inch square right in half, and made it 4 2.5-inch squares. So you're going to take 1 white background square and your light background or your light square, and we're going to draw lines on those, and we're going to lay those on 2 squares that are exactly the same fabric. So we're going to put these on here, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides.
All right.
And I'm going to let you do that. And so just draw your line corner to corner, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides. Now this is a really fun way to make them. You can make them so that obviously they're, both your colors are the same on either side of the square. But I love how this makes a square here that's different from the squares that are out here. And actually, if you had no sashing and you butted those right up next to each other, it would make a whole different block. All right, so I'm going to just trim these on the line right here. And then Natalie, if you'll press these open for me and press to the dark side, that would be awesome.
Oops, hold on.
Oh, you're good, you're good. It just got a little wild there. We had a lot of fun with this block because it's so traditional, and it's such a great block. I called mine Celebration because, well, one, because I think the shiny, pretty fabric, and the other reason is because of the runners I made, and I just thought it just looked kind of like a party.
They turned out so pretty.
All right, so now we have one of these and one of these, and we're going to combine these 2 together. So I'm going to draw the line on the back of either one. You can do either one. I'll do it on the solid, and I'm just going to line up my ruler, and I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to go from the center out just because of this seam right here. I think it would make it a little difficult. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these that has the lighter background and the darker outside, and then the plain, and I'm going to put them so that my colors are opposite like this, so that they nest up real nice and snug. And I'm going to do that, and you can feel that there's no no room in between, and I'm going to go ahead and let Misty sew. And again, we're sewing 1/4 inch on both sides, and I will do this one while we're waiting.
Does it matter at all which piece goes on which side to get the marbly light print in the middle?
No.
It doesn't matter?
No, because you can just turn it. It's the same. At least I don't think it does. We may find out in a minute if it does.
I was just curious.
I
would want to make sure they were all in the right place.
I think it works out. I think it works out fine either way. All right, so now I'm going to cut these in half, and that's going to give us 2 of these where you've got the color on one side. Yeah, because you can just do this. Yeah, you can
turn them either way.
Yeah, so now before we iron these, I am going to trim them up. Now, the reason I use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer is because it has this center line and this straight line. So I can lay this whole thing up, and so this goes on this stitch line, this goes on this stitch line, and it makes it super easy for me. You guys have heard me talk about making sure that you have a tool that works well for your brain. Now, Natalie's going to show you a different way to square these up, and so
I did use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer, but I can tell you how to do it if you don't have one.
yes.
They're so much easier to trim with this trimmer, though, with the trimmer tool.
I don't love the slotted trimmer for like half square
Anything
triangles,
else.
but for hourglasses, I really love them.
It's like
I love them all the
perfectly.
time.
I know, they're your favorite.
They're like perfectly built for the
hourglass.
trim.
Yes, with
it
that.
makes swearing so easy.
With that little seam up the top, and there's that one, and then I got one more here. You know, if you girls had helped me all along, I could have made this quilt a lot faster.
If only we didn't have to make ours too.
Same.
There you go.
You did help me, and it did go fast.
All right, so now we have a middle square, and these are now squared to 4 inches. So all of our center square and our outer squares all have to be 4 inches. So I'm going to take 4 of my white squares, which are going to go in my corners, and I'm going to take my one middle square right here, and I'm going to cut them all to 4 inches, which means I'm going to cut like 1 inch off. So you can do that this way, where you have yours lined up in the corner right here, or you can cut 1 inch off the side here, which is what I'm going to do. And mine aren't exactly the same size, so I'm making sure that I'm measuring from my, my little inside block right there. And then I'm just going to clean up this edge over here. So here's my 4. So I probably made a few more cuts than I needed to, but you know.
At least they're right.
At least they're right. All right. So once you get all your squares cut to 4 inches, you're ready to assemble your block. So we're going to put this middle out here, and then we're going to take our hourglass blocks and we're going to put the lighter square toward the center like this, so it forms that square in a square look. So it gives it, you know, some real fun dimension there. And then we've got these corner blocks that we're going to put in here. Now you can see on the quilt behind me that mine are snowballed on the corner. And by snowball, you know, I use that term a lot, and people don't always know what that means. Somebody said, what is she doing? What does she mean by snowball? That's when you put a little block on a corner like this, and it makes it have a round effect like a snowball. So you can snowball your blocks once your whole block is put together, or you can do them before. And I'm going to have Misty do these before. And do you need me to draw the line, or can you eyeball it?
I can eyeball it. I've got this diagonal seam tape that
Oh, I love that diagonal
makes
seam
it
tape.
easy, yeah.
You guys, if you have any trouble, you know, doing that whole diagonal seam tape thing, or the whole diagonal sewing thing, make sure you check out the diagonal seam tape, because that is super helpful. I've been doing it long enough. I just kind of eyeball it corner to corner, but you know, sometimes we have to draw the line, sometimes we use the seam tape, whatever it takes to get it right. All right, here's the last one.
All right.
And I'm going to go ahead and cut these off
Okay.
and get them to Natalie so she can iron them. So I'm just going to trim this off right here. And you can do that with scissors or your rotary cutter. I have scissors in my hand, so that's what I'm using.
Seems easy.
I'm a creature of habit. There we go. And then we are ready to put our block together. I'm going to have Misty go ahead and start on this center row So what we're going to do is we're going to put our light ones next to it, and we're going to lay them right on here like this. Now if you want, you can clip these little corners off right here. And so straight down that side, I'll clip this little corner off. When you square these, you only end up with 2 little peaks on there. All right, so you only need 2 of those. Then these other 2 right here, they're going to have, each one is going to have 2 squares on either side, and the squares are going to face to the outside. So you just to remember on this part is at the top, and these squares face outward. And it's the same on both rows. Oh, sorry, yes, thank you. Outward, that outward. All right, so then we're going to go here, and we're going to do the same thing. So Misty, if you can put these together.
Absolutely.
And then Natalie, if you want to press these so that the seam goes toward the middle.
Okay.
This will help you nesting your block up. If your pressing is, your middle one is toward the middle and your other ones are go toward the outside. And I generally do it the way the seams want to lay. You know, they have their own direction, and I let them do that. And generally it works out best. All right, and then here's these. There we
And
go.
these ones you want pressed out?
I want those pressed out. And see, they naturally want to go that way. And so we just let them do their thing. There we go. And so you can see how this is coming together real quickly here. Now, you're going to match up these center seams right here. You're going to look and make sure they nest. And it looks like this seam like here is just a tad bigger, just a hair bigger. So I'm going to have Misty put that one on the bottom because the feed dogs will take in more fabric. And so that will make that match up a little nicer. But she'll sew along and she'll make sure that these 2 are lined up. Exactly. And you know, you can just give those a little tug one way or the other to make sure that they match up exactly. Have I made you nervous by saying that?
Nope. Woo. Doing my best.
All right, and here's the other side.
Turned out pretty good.
It turned out perfect.
There we go.
And that's the important thing. We just do our best. You know, nobody's ever given a quilt back to me because the points weren't perfect. So don't worry about that. Yeah, just remember to get those lights to the center and we're good to go.
Here we go.
All right, now Natalie, if you'll press that, then we can show it off.
Such a fun block.
It is so fun, isn't it? And I know we've all enjoyed doing the things that we've done with them. But I have a couple of more things to show you. All right, so this is our block and it's perfect. And for this quilt, we used 9 of these. So here's how these go in here, just like this. And you can see that it makes a little secondary block here. Now, whatever size your block is, that's your size of your sashing and then the little cornerstone. So my sashing is 2.5 inches wide, and these are little 2.5 inch cornerstones. And that's how I put that together. But I got looking at this, and I got looking at this corner, and I thought, what would happen if I snowballed both corners? And so they would be in here like this, and I wondered what it would look like. So let me show you these table runners that I put together. Now this one here, look how different that block looks just by adding that other corner. And on this one right here, I still stayed with my 2.5 inch sashing, and I just did a 2.5 inch white border and then bound it with the color. Now this is exactly the same block with 2 little gray squares in opposite corners, but I changed up the size of my sashing. And look how different that looks with just by changing up that size. So this is 1.5 inch sashing here, and I bordered it all with the 1.5 inch, and then I went ahead and bordered it with a little 3 inch border out here on the side. And so just by changing up those corner squares, it just made a whole different project, and it just looks really, really fun.
And all of those are in the pattern, right?
Yes, all of those are included in the pattern, and so
really great.
so it just makes it really fun to think about the what happens if factor. So now we're going to send it over to Misty, who takes the what happens if factor even bigger
That's right. Or smaller. We'll
or
see.
smaller.
Okay, so this is my little wall hanging
so
mini quilt.
cute.
Isn't
I love it.
It's so happy, isn't it?
It's so
Yeah.
cute.
I just decided to do a smaller project with this. I wanted to try making these little Ohio Star blocks, and as you can see, I put these little 4 patches in the corner, which kind of creates this beautiful chain effect, and it's really simple to do, almost exactly like Jenny's, just smaller. So let me
that
show.
corner block is just so key in
It's
so many things.
fun to play with. So let me show you how we do this. To make this quilt, you're going to need 1 charm pack, and I used Balboa by Sherry and Chelsea for Moda. It's such a beautiful line, and I really, really like it. I did leave out all of the lights in this particular collection and decided to use a background print just to make sure that my prints really popped off. And so you're going to need 3/4 of a yard of background, and that includes all of your blocks and your sashing and inner border. And then you're also going to need a 1/4 yard for your outer border. This is just a little 2.5 inch border. And then 1 yard on your backing,
Oh, here.
which is this pretty blue print. I love that.
And what stitch pattern did you use? Is that like that little daisy?
I think it is. That's a good question. I
It's a-
actually don't remember.
It's a cute little flower.
Just a little floral pattern.
Yeah.
So it turned out really nice, and it's super easy. So let me show you how I did this. I began, as you can see, I kind of followed the same color patterns in my block. So I picked like a purple and a blue that I wanted to use for my block on this one, and then I used my dark grays for all of the centers. So all I did there is I took a 5-inch square and cut it in 4ths, and those create your center blocks. The basis of each of these is 2.5 inches, so I can just set this aside while we work on our star legs. So to do that, I am going to place these right sides together, and we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around.
Okay.
You've got that.
I got that. Let's see here.
I love how each project uses half square triangles to make the Ohio Star,
Yes.
but each of us made them differently.
Just a little different, yeah.
Yeah, we each use a different method. Mom did make 2, you're doing make 4, and
Yeah.
I did make 8.
I know, it's
Oh, she's a wild woman over
she
there.
is a wild woman. All right, so then we're just going to cut this diagonally both directions. And then Nat, I'll have you press these open for me
All right.
to the dark side, of course.
Of course. Oh, the legs didn't go down.
No,
It's tired.
it is tired.
Not so fast.
It's like, wait, I'll do it. I'll be good.
And then, since we're going to make our little hourglass blocks, just like Jenny showed, we're going to place these right sides together with our prints on opposite sides, and we're going to draw a line corner to corner. Whoops.
It's interesting how quick these get tiny. You know,
Yes.
because those half square triangles didn't look so tiny, and all of a
And
sudden
all
I'm
of a sudden,
thinking,
they're going to get
they're going to
small.
get really tiny.
And so you'll sew a 1/4 inch on both sides.
All right, let me make sure this is
Yeah, all
nice
nested
and
up.
nice and nested. There we go.
Same here. Thanks, Nat.
All righty.
Sorry, I got so enthralled by you sewing, I forgot I needed to mark this one.
Yeah, you can't eyeball these. You want to make sure
No.
these are really, you want to mark these and make sure they're right.
Yes. So there's that, and then we
All
can
right.
cut this one in half.
This one I can see is like a little skewed over here.
Oh, do you need me to
No,
draw
no,
it
no,
again?
no.
I think you could eyeball it, except this you're sewing on either side of a line, and if there's no line, you can't eyeball
You can't
that.
eyeball it, exactly. And so, I need the other trimmer, so I'm going to square mine to 2.5. And again, I'm lining up my stitch line and then the line that goes up and down. So let's just trim that off.
This tool just makes this so easy.
It does make it super
But you
easy.
can do it without it, and I'm glad Natalie's going to show you how.
And I like to cut off my little
The dog ears.
little corners
Little
because
corners.
especially with these small blocks, I find it makes it much easier.
Yeah, we don't really want to call them dog ears because
No.
we don't want it rotary cut puppy ears.
No,
but-
we do not.
So we're trying to change that. Call them our little
corners.
the little corners. Trim in the corners.
All right. So there's that one.
They're just so tiny and perfect.
Aren't they
They're
perfect?
so cute. All right, and then square these up. And I love this method because then you get 4 matching star legs out of your one charm square, which I think is really handy if I can get in that little slot. There we go. And one more. Here we go. And those are ready to go.
I'm just going to clean this off here.
Thank you. I have to say I did love like all of the little trimmings
the little
from this.
scraps.
They were just so happy and cheerful. So then for the little 4 patches in the corner, I still just used a 5-inch square, but what I did is I cut 1.5-inch strips off of that. And then I sewed them to 1.5-inch background strips.
Okay. And are you going to square these, or does the 1/4 inch matter?
The 1/4 inch does matter
All right.
because we want these to finish right at 2.5. And so as long as your seam is right, you won't need
I'll
to
try
square.
really hard.
I believe in you.
Well, my 1/4 inch seam. Everybody's 1/4 inch seam is like
It's
a
just
fingerprint, you
A
know.
little different. It's
And
true.
so that's why, you know, if a friend helps you make these, you're not going to be very happy about it because hers are going to be just a little different than yours.
That's true. And so here's a little trick that's actually not in the pattern, but it saves you a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and press these open.
Okay.
I tried to stay right on the line,
Press that open. Thank
and I'm
you.
closing your rotary
Thank
cutter.
you. I appreciate that. So I don't get yelled at. Sorry, guys.
That's right. You won't owe me a 1/4.
That's right.
Actually, I'm the worst offender of that, honestly.
And so then on this one, I just put right sides together, and I take this to my machine and I sew a seam, and I have a little nest when I'm sewing, so I sew a 1/4 inch seam, and then I measure over 1.5 inches, and I trim that off,
Okay.
and then keep going down my
Awesome.
row.
I'll do this one so you can show them.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, so yeah, there you can see she's just sewn this edge, and then I can measure over 1.5 inches from the edge of the fabric, and you can see I get my little
And I
4
sew
patch.
again?
Sew again. There we go. Whoops.
That's a pretty good trick.
It was a good trick. It was speedy.
So you
And
almost
more.
get all of them out of one
Almost
little
out of
strip.
one, and then you just have to take your last little strip to make one more. And so I just cut those down into 1.5 inch pieces, and we'll just sew those together. But it's just very little waste, which is so awesome. There's that one. There we go, and one more.
So can you get more than one block out of a charm pack, or you get like 1.5?
Out of a charm square.
Out of, yeah, I mean more out of these. So you get 3 of these out of one strip set, and one more out of another strip set. So could
Right.
you get two sets of legs out of one charm square?
No, you can't.
Okay.
There's not quite enough. Not quite. But then now once we have that, we can put together our block. So remember, we cut our 5-inch squares in fourths, and so this is our center. And then we put our little star legs with the white going in. And then our 4 patches, they kind of want to poke up, don't they? And then our 4 patches,
tiny.
I know, we put the color in towards the center, just like that.
Oh, they're so dang cute.
They're so cute. And then we just sew them in rows.
And you also have 9.
I do. I also have 9.
Yours
and
is obviously much smaller than mine.
I know. Yeah, I think our blocks are like 6.5 inch unfinished, I believe. Is that right?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
It's just super cute. And then I just continued that 1.5 inch sashing with a little 1.5 inch cornerstone in between. And then, like I said, that 2.5 inch outer border, and it comes together Super quick and easy, and it's just really happy. So now we're going to turn the time over to Natalie, and she's got something very fun to show us.
So now we have Natalie with her magical quilt. This is
It's so beautiful.
it's an Ohio Star.
Yep.
Show us the star, Natalie. Show how to do this.
Okay, so my quilt is called Blue Ribbon Ohio Star.
And it looks like a blue ribbon.
It deserves
turned
a blue
out really
ribbon.
It
beautifully.
deserves a blue ribbon.
So pretty.
And I use this line called In the Navy, which is actually really cool. Every line or every piece of fabric has a print on it, but it's all navy based, so it looks like a
those
two-color quilt.
tone-on-tones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you need 2 packages of navy and 2 packages of white to do all your squares, and then you'll need another 1.5-ish of background fabric for the sashing and the inner border, and that's all of these 9-patch sashings and this inner border right here. Whoops, right here.
And then
can see it
did you
over there.
need navy as well for this?
The navy is part of the border fabric
Oh.
amount. It's the same fabric, so you'll need 2 3/4 yards for that.
Okay, that's
And that
awesome.
so that includes the outer border, which is I think 6-inch.
Yep, nice
6-inch
big
border,
6-inch.
and then that also includes these strips.
Awesome.
And I think it may also include the centers. Yeah, all the centers are the same. So that's out of that same piece of yardage. It's 2 3/4 of the navy and 1.5 of the white.
And I'm peeking at your backing.
And it's solid blue.
It's
Another
a
beautiful print. All of these
beautiful
prints are
print.
like, they're great because they could go modern or traditional.
Right.
Yeah.
Either way. Like, they're so beautiful.
They are beautiful. I love
And they're
that.
not specific to one style.
And
So
you used
could
about
mix
5
them
yards
in.
on the backing.
Yeah, about 5 yards.
Yeah. And this is a loops and swirls
It ends up
pattern.
being 66 by 78, which is good size for a lap quilt.
That's a
or
great size.
almost a twin. It's probably a little small. If you make your borders bigger, it'll be twin easy.
I can
always-
border that out.
always-
Yeah, exactly. just expand that a
Just
little
add a
bit.
few more borders.
No problem.
Love it.
All right, so this block is made in a 9-patch setting, just like the other 2 girls' blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Only my 4-patch in the corner has 2 half-square triangles in it. So we have one of these, or
Oh
I
my
mean, I'm
gosh.
sorry, 4. There's 4. They go in the corners, and then your hourglass block in the middle, and then you've got a solid square, which I think is up here. Oh, did I turn it down?
Yeah. That's all right.
That's funny how that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the 3 blocks, and then you just make multiples of them to create this block. So I did my hourglass blocks the same way Mom did for the original part. We do draw on the line and make 2 half-square triangles and stitch on either side of the line. Whoops, it didn't
Missed a
quite
little part.
stitch all the way there. Let me go from the center out. That does seem to make the pen work better for
It
some
really
reason.
does when it's marking on
really
the
I'm
does.
not
back.
sure what the difference is, but if you pull it out instead of dragging from the top, it seems to work better.
Now this is the way I did mine, and you're going to square these to what?
To 3.5. All of my squares are 3.5.
Oh, okay. But these you did a different way, didn't
Yes, so those I did make 8 using the
you? Okay,
5-inch
why don't we
squares.
show that? Because we've
Okay.
already seen the way to make the other hourglasses.
All right. And I did square my hourglass using the Clearly Perfect trimmer, but if you want to go ahead and let Misty sew the hourglass,
Okay.
I can teach how to trim that, how to square it up, not using the Clearly
Oh,
Perfect trimmer.
perfect. All right. I'm
Just
gonna iron
so
this.
that everybody out there
Everybody
has
knows how.
another way to do it.
That's a great idea.
All right, so to make 8 for my little half square triangles, we're gonna stitch on both sides of the line and then cut it in both directions. Let me grab I'll just use
Here,
one of
Misty,
these.
I'll hand these to you.
Perfect.
If you want to draw the line on there.
It is
Misty's drawing
drawn.
her diagonal line across the 2.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
it's okay.
didn't get to that one yet.
No problem.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rush you.
Yeah.
Don't you though?
I'll relax.
I feel like this is like a large part of my life is
Yes.
Mom. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, hurry up.
We can make it faster.
It's okay. Keeps us all on our toes. and we
That's
get
right.
a lot done.
We do get a lot done. All right, so there are those hourglasses, and then
Okay.
you want me to sew a 1/4 inch on.
On both
Both
sides
sides.
of both lines.
Okay, you got it.
That's the easy
We're gonna
8.
make 8 so that we have
Those
enough
are going to be tiny.
half square triangles for our little corner 4 patches. All right, so if you'll press that.
There's this one.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, the trimmer square is so easy because you line it up before you cut it. But if you don't have one of those, you can use any ruler that you have and you decide what size you want. So I want 3.5 inches. So what I'm gonna do is lay my ruler on it and I'm gonna put the corner marks of the ruler into the corners, like where the lines are. You want your points to be right in the corners so that you keep those points.
Oh, okay.
So you're gonna make sure that your 3.5 mark here lines up with this point, this point, this point, and then you can't see this one, but we're gonna get to that one in a minute. And if all 3 of these work, then I'm gonna cut these 2 corners, or these 2 sides, and then we'll flip it right around.
I'm always looking for the center, and that's why it's so confusing for me.
You are cutting this block into the center. You have to cut all 4
all
sides.
4 sides. Okay.
You can't square a block that has 4 points without doing all 4 sides.
Okay,
Otherwise,
perfect.
this middle part would go down and not be accurate. So
you're looking at the 3.5
So yeah, you're
line.
lining up, you want a 3.5 inch square, and you've got to use the part that makes most sense to you, you know. So if you're a lefty, you're going to flip it over and do it this way. Right? So
on the
you've
3.5.
Yes. Whoops.
You're not
You're
a
not
lefty.
a
Not a lefty.
It's all right.
It won't work.
Okay, so 3.5. It will work
Well, I meant for
if you
her.
Yeah,
like.
but
Yeah,
for
if you
you.
know what you're looking at.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so just the 3.5 goes into all the points, and you just cut all those little extra pieces off, and they come out perfectly square.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Love
And
it.
just remember that you're going into the center, and you've got to make sure you have enough room on this end as well as this end before you make that first cut.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Here is that
Otherwise,
easy 8.
that works great.
Awesome.
Okay, so the easy 8, you're going to cut 2.5 because this is still a 5-inch square. So we're going to cut 2.5, and we're going to go across both directions, and then we're going to cut on those diagonal lines to get 8 half-square triangles.
And it's a good idea to cut the vertical and horizontal cuts first because there are no drawn lines.
Exactly.
And then if they get messed up, you can always just cut these ones with the lines separately, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That could work.
A little more forgiving with those
Move
marked
that one.
lines.
Yep, just like that. It got a little off, but I can scoot it back and
And
it's
you can still
totally
see the
fine.
line.
Yeah. All right, so if you'll press some of these,
All
I
right.
think just 2 because we've got, I've got some other ones made already, so we'll just make one of these blocks.
There's one.
So this block is essentially a 4-patch, and it has a navy on one side and a background on the other side, and then the 2 half-square triangles pointing the same direction. So for these tiny little guys, I'm actually a Block Lock fan as well. Use whatever tool you need to get the job done, and I believe in multiple tools and multiple uses.
They all have their purpose.
Yes.
They do, and they all
So-
work for different people.
So these square up nicely to 2 inches.
2 inches, that's awesome.
I love it. It makes
But
my
you
heart
get a
sing.
whole bunch and you don't have to work that hard at it. It's not difficult.
That's what's so great about that easy 8.
Yeah. So this little block is a 4-patch. And then as you sew them together, there's a little routine or a mantra that I use to keep myself on track and to know that I'm doing them all right. Because I worried that I wouldn't get them going the right direction and I'd sew them opposite or whatever. So I realized pretty early on that they literally both sew the same way, and then you flip one of them.
Okay.
All right, so this always points this way with the white pointing this direction and the navy pointing that direction. And then you're going to put your navy block on top, and you're going to do the same thing for the same half. You do half and half.
Half white and half navy.
Yep, exactly. But they stitch together exactly the same.
So your solid pieces always go to
They always
the
go
navy
at the
side.
top to the dark.
Okay.
Yeah, or the navy side, yeah.
Yeah.
So then you can stitch them, and I actually, because this is just how I do it, I just did a navy and a white and a navy and a white, and I did them like one
Yeah.
after the other, kind of in that order. But I think you could, if you wanted to, do all your navies first and then all your white ones.
All right.
But we'll get those stitched together.
And then we'll get
And
to
your little squares also are 2 inches, just as a reminder. They match the half square
Here
triangles.
we go.
and they come right out of your yardage. Now I just finger pressed these because I didn't want to get up and press every single one, and they're so little they press back pretty easily. And then your solid blocks go in opposite corners, and that creates that little block just like this. So you'll see your solids in opposite corners, and we'll stitch that together. You nest that little seam.
Absolutely.
Which, if you're finger pressing, you get to decide which way they
Which
go
way they're going.
pretty easily.
True.
And they're small enough they can switch direction if they want to.
That's
But
right. Let me make sure I've got that.
typically they like to press towards the solid side, which is fine because they're going opposite directions anyway, so it just naturally nests.
Right.
There we go. So cute.
All right.
That is really cute. All right.
So then we have our block in the middle that's 3.5 inches that we cut from our yardage. We've got, I think I have a few extra. These point towards the center.
One more here.
And one more here. And a couple more hourglass blocks.
With the white to the middle.
Yep, which I think I may
And
need
just
to
like
square
that,
this one real quick.
that corner block just,
Just magic.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I thought I had all my hourglass, but let me just square this one real quick and we'll be good to go.
I'm actually so glad you showed that method because
Well,
I would have been lost with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't need another tool. You've got rulers on hand, and you can make it work.
Well,
Look at
and I
that.
also I
So
love the quote. I think it might be Picasso, maybe. Somebody will have to check me on that. But it's like, learn the rules like a professional, so you can break them like an artist.
Exactly.
So
Oh, I
all the
love
tools,
that.
you just do what you need to do with whatever. But it's good to know that there are other ways to do things as well.
Right.
Exactly.
So once these are all sewn together, you have your finished block, and then it's time to make the sashing, which is just a great 9-patch sashing. So I just took 1.5 inch strips and stitched together a set of navy, white, navy, and then another set of the white, navy, white. Now, your long sashing strips are the length of your block, and those are all navy, white, navy. And as I cut them, I was able to get 4, I think, from a strip set. And then I always had this little piece left over, and that's what I made I used for my middle strip.
perfect.
The
Oh, for
strip
the
piece.
9 patches.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
you don't have to make
great
extras
use
for
of
your little
fabric.
9 patches. So those go together really easily. I just cut the strips into 1.5 inch segments, like so.
Here, let me scoot this up. Well, whoosh, nope.
Nice.
I didn't do it. There we go.
All right, so you start with a white, navy, white, and then pop one of those in the middle with the navy, white, navy, and then a white, navy, white. And that makes your little 9-patch for the center, which is essentially a cornerstone, which I think also can open up so many ideas really for sashing. If you put you make an entire block for your cornerstone instead of just a solid. How many ideas
How
could
cool
we
is that?
could we come up with
You
for
certainly
that?
had my mind racing.
So
Yeah.
So
many. Well,
So
it's just darling.
And then, beyond that, once your 9 patches are made and your sashing strips are made, it is essentially the same as any other quilt that you sash in cornerstone.
Absolutely.
You just put them together.
yeah, and this is a great sashing because you could use it with so many different blocks.
Yeah, and it really, I think it just kind of like elevates it a little bit where it's like, wow, that's fancy.
Yeah, it does.
The other thing I thought about
Fancy.
is like how different it would look if I had done opposite, where there was one little blue strip in the middle and a lot more white space. It might have looked a little bit more,
I think it would
maybe a little more modern, or a little
more modern. Yeah.
a lot more negative space for sure.
Yeah, this
So-
is real traditional looking. And
Yes, which I love also.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So
Be
much
interesting
love
to
for
see
all
it
the
the
different
other way.
varieties. So I put these together. There's 20 blocks, and I put them together in a 4x5 setting. And I think it just looks great. I think it's
Oh, it's
fun.
just
And
darling.
the blocks are 9.5, just in case.
Now I feel like we've made this Ohio block very simple and very doable. And with all the different things we've added to it, we've just upped it and upped our game and shown you lots of different ways to do things.
Yeah,
And
hopefully we've inspired some good creative thinking and some new
Exactly.
ideas for you.
so again, here's mine.
Yep.
And here's
Here's
Misty's
mine.
and Natalie's.
So beautiful.
And we hope you enjoyed this triple play on the Ohio Star Block from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.